And we're live. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We are live today with Yovonne Kenny. We got a chance to meet multiple times in the BTR and SFR space. The first time in person at BTR in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
At the rooftop bar.
Yes.
Just by chance. It's outstanding. And that was through Greg Frank.
Yeah.
That's the introduction there, right? Excellent. Okay.
Boy Blue.
Yeah, he's gem. I was just on a call with him a few minutes ago. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Excited to have you on today. Yvonne is a big part of the supplier business in terms of the SFR and BTR space and maybe more. Recently had a small career change. We'll talk a little bit about that, and has been in the role of providing solutions to the property management industry for well over 15 years, and an exciting and dynamic person who's actually got a lot of work with the associations as well. So we can maybe touch a bit about that as well, and why that's important for suppliers, why that's important for getting to hell yes, and then ultimately, how that's affected you in your career and your network, right? For everyone listening, if you're listening for the first time, getting to hell yes buyer that we're always talking about is a buyer that has already sought out solutions. They realize a problem they have, maybe even they've tried alternatives, and they have prioritized that in terms of something they're trying to solve. Currently, it's blocking their goals, and they've kind of identified this as something that they need to solve for. Now, that has certain elements to it, meaning that the getting to hell yes buyer has kind of like, they understand the problem, but may not understand the alternatives that are available. There's always the obvious alternatives in terms of like hire somebody, maybe hire a vendor, technology, products, services as being an alternative, and those sort of things all come to play. But often they try and figure out how to do it all without trying to invoke external people, but that's sometimes not what always works in the long run. As always, this is brought to you by IRCX. IRCX is AI-driven remote maintenance software, help you save time and energy and effort in terms of triaging maintenance, trips that relate around maintenance, and then making your turns more effective and consistent in the property management industry. We're thrilled to have Yvonne today. And as we always kick this off, Yvonne, a little bit around yourself, how you got into this role, your new role, and then what's the problem that you guys solve today, and how do you identify those buyers?
Well, thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure meeting you. I think the first time was a LinkedIn message that you'd sent me, and I kind of checked you out. And this industry is so big, and it's all about connecting people, and so I always stay open to connection. So I'm glad that we have finally connected, and I've made it on hell yes.
So, we're thrilled to have you.
Yeah. Well, we used to have a saying back at Preferred, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
That's right.
Right. So it really aligned. And I was on a call earlier, and we'll get to that toward the end on who I think the next guest should be.
All right.
She also was like, yeah, hell yeah. That's what I definitely need to be on that podcast. So I'll drop that bomb later. She's an amazing leader in this industry as well, and has a great story. But my story, I spent 13 years at Preferred Floor and Tile, started with that company. I think we were doing a little bit less than $1 million a year in revenue, and we grew it to an 8-figure business. Took a couple steps back, a couple years, just like everyone has in the last couple. We weren't always profitable either. So it's really important to be looking at your profitability as well as your revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be tricky. And it comes down to sales. It really does, because you can cut expenses and cut expenses and cut expenses. But at some point, there's no more expenses to cut. You've got to drive revenue, right? And so I think that's a big takeaway. So I was working with a client. My philosophy personally has always been be a problem solver and add value any way you can, and be a connector of people. My background included internet marketing strategies. I sold paid search. I worked for Yellow Book, Yellow Pages. I sold cars even in my early 20s. And one of the things that I learned in sales is like, solve problems genuinely and really try to seek out and listen for what problems you're trying to solve. Don't solve for problems they don't have. Don't solve for problems that they haven't identified yet. So make sure that you land on what problems your clients are looking to solve. So I had a client come to me, a very growing BTR builder, or owner operator, who was working with a handful of builders, and they wanted a finer finish in their bathroom. And one of the challenges in the flooring and tile space is finding skilled labor when it comes to tile. And so at that time, Dow Tile has a product out there that we were looking at and vetting, and Shaw Industries had a product. And at this time, I was the EVP at Preferred. And so I just started digging in and trying to look around the market and say, what options do we have available for our client? If it's not tile, but gives a luxury appearance of tile and is going to deliver the aesthetics that this owner operator wants in their delivered product. And so as I started vetting products, I came across ACP, which stands for acoustical ceiling products. They do more than that because we do shower systems. And so now we're considering changing the name, and mostly because I'm on board. No, just kidding. That we're going to just call it All Cool People is what ACP.
I mean, yeah, ACP, that leaves a lot to the imagination, and acoustical tile ceiling systems doesn't necessarily ring as the
boring.
No, it's not in anyone's search profile, right?
No. So went to KBIS in February and had seen this product the year before at KBIS. Went back and asked my client to take a meeting with me with them so we could look at the product and vet the product and see if it would meet, check all his boxes. And lo and behold, it did. And so within a couple of months later, I am employed and now running the shower division and the strategic growth strategy to target and start solving more problems for BTR SFR multifamily. And this product is an amazing product, but what it's backed by is a deliverable of people, right? So when I went and flew up to Appleton, Wisconsin, which it is manufactured here in the United States. So check, that was a really big box to check, because nothing's manufactured in the flooring industry here other than a handful of products. So I was like, okay, yeah, we're getting ready for some tariffs. We're going to avoid that problem. So that's good. Check. Is the product vetted? Yeah, there's been 80 million square feet of this installed through big box retailers. This product is tried and true. It's not new. So check that box. 3, the aesthetics on it. It's a stunning product. It's beautiful. It's pretty. And it really does help lease up homes, because kitchens and baths lease up homes, Guillermo. And and that was the problem that we were trying to solve. So it was really interesting how I started vetting this product while I was at Preferred. We parted ways, and I got a phone call from my brother, who's a general contractor in upstate New York, saying, hey, I got a tight deadline. Didn't you tell me about some groutless, something looks beautiful, high polish product? I was like, yeah, let me make a couple phone calls. So I called up to Rob Redman, who is the owner and founder of Palisade ACP, and got a price from him, marked it up a little bit, called my brother back, gave him a price, and said, and by the way, when you sell family, you always mark it up double, because it's like headache factor, right? You always mark it up double. So I learned that in the car business. This is like, higher the gross, happier the customer, if it's family. So long story short, went up there. I called Rob back and I was like, wait a minute, I think I could do this more often. My brother took the sale. He was like, yep, done. He ordered.
He was hell yes.
It was just it. It was a hell yes.
Hell yes.
And because I quickly solved his problem, right? He's like, I need this, this, this. I called, found it, put a price on it, gave it back to him. Called, and I sat there for a minute. I'm like, oh, I could do that, rinse and repeat. This product is a no-brainer. I was like, yeah. So I called Rob back at ACP and I was like, let's set me up as a distributor. I'm interested in this. And he said, well, why don't we fly you up here and we'll take a look at, I want you to meet the team, tour the manufacturing plant. And I was like, great. So I flew up to Appleton, Wisconsin, tiny little town, blue collar, hardworking people, work ethic like I haven't seen in a long, long time. Just loved every person. The corners, like I'm an Army brat, so like I'm trained to look at like if something's clean, it means the corners are clean, right? The baseboards are clean, the shoe molding doesn't have dust on it. And I'm in a manufacturing plant, and this place was immaculate. And I was like, okay, these employees are cared for, and so they care about this product and they care about the deliverable. And that was a big win. That was a hell yeah for me.
It's an interesting view of like when you take a look at manufacturing facilities and maintenance facilities, like one of the companies I did consulting for years ago, they in their maintenance bays, they painted the floors white. Oh. Which just sounds like, and they painted the floors white principally because they wanted to see if there's any leaks. And it's easier to see if there's a leak in a vehicle, a white floor than anything else. But that was another way to actually surface, like if it's the floor is painted white, it's virtually impossible to have a messy floor. Yeah. And that was all around it was an operationally excellent driven organization. Having a white floor was like a signal that there's, it gets cleaned every day. It gets cleaned 3 times a day, right? Because if a vehicle comes in, and these vehicles, a tire is $1 million. So like if a vehicle comes in and there's a single drip of oil, it cannot go back out. And the best way to see that and to kind of build the culture around that was around the hygiene of the facility, right? And it is interesting, those small little changes that you can kind of adopt that make a big difference on the way you work, right? And another one interesting about that area, that part of the U.S., like obviously Kohler's based out of there, right? And massive manufacturing facility there, private company. But I seem to remember also like there's a lot of office furniture manufacturing that comes out of there. And there's a guy that wrote a book, Max Dupree, and he was the Aaron Miller. He was Aon Miller. I can't remember. Aaron Miller. Nonetheless, he was the president of this manufacturing company that made office furniture, and they made the Henry Miller chair, the kind of the fancy chairs. That's what it was. And one of the things that they did is that in order to get buy-in from everyone in the organization about the objectives of the business, they actually taught everybody within the organization financial literacy. And so like you learned about the profit and loss statement, they learned about the balance sheet, learned about a forecast. And that was part of your first onboarding. Even if you're a factory worker putting wheels in the bottom of a chair, you had to be able to show competency around what a P&L was and what a balance sheet. I fucking have it.
You get a bob and weave. You get a bob and weave.
As the podcast is kicked off, somebody can ask me about this. There'll be some background noise. But, it is interesting around that kind of commitment to an employee that you're going to teach them something that may be outside of the course of their task profile with the objective of creating a great organization. And you see a lot of that in these privately held companies or family-owned companies that have been around for a long time because they take care of their people as part of the strategy. And you would think that in a service-based business, like it's kind of natural, but in a product-based business, it's not. And so how do you begin to, and now that you've made this choice, right, based on the things that you saw and the gap that they have and your desire to kind of pursue sales in a hell yes environment, that, may or may not be different than what you were trying to prefer. But it's interesting to understand your attraction to that new opportunity because of the history of that you have in solving other problems. And I think what's really valuable for them to hear is that acknowledging the problem that you're trying to solve has less to do with the actual product and SKU and everything to do with making these units leasable and the maintenance on that unit being as low as possible. 100%. And so that's the attachment that a lot of people lose is I think they're selling a product to do one thing, but it's actually to enable another thing. And that gap is what creates friction in the sales cycle. But when you connect it to the objectives and the goals of the people that you're selling to, you find yourself on the way to hell yes.
There's so many dynamics in SFR and BTR, and a lot of times, in the SFR, you got your turn, your rehab, your maintenance divisions, and those benefits are different to every single one of them. Everyone's interested in timeline and turn times. If it's occupied by a resident, they're interested in resident experience. So it checked that box as well. This decreases turnaround times. If you have a resident occupied shower leak, at the former company that I worked for, we were quoting maintenance occupied demo and reinstall of tile shower systems. It was horrible for a resident to go through that experience in the best case scenario, right? Because your entire bathroom shower is getting ripped down to the studs. Maybe your plumbing is even getting ripped out and re-plumbed. You've got a lot of dust and debris that goes airborne. So you got to make sure that you have good ventilation. There's so many factors that could go wrong. So with this product, this is a product that can actually get installed over an existing, if it's just aesthetic that you're trying to cover up. If it is a demo down, you're still going to have demo and debris, but your reinstall isn't going to take as long. You're going to have demo one day, probably, plumb the next day, and possibly reinstall within a total of 3 days. Tiles, minimum 4 to 5 to 6 days. That's if everything goes smooth. And you may not think that 2 days is different from 3, or 5 to 3 is different. It absolutely is, because every time you step into a resident occupied home, it's sensitive, right? You don't know that's somebody's home. You don't know what's going on in that home. You don't know what their life is all about, right? They're living in there. They have children, they have pets, they have a schedule. And so all of that becomes disrupted. And we as an industry wants to make sure that resident experience is top notch, right? That is the priority, because if you don't have happy residents, you don't have residents. And there's an owner operator right around the corner that's willing to deliver on that value. So our goal as a service provider, when I was at Preferred Floor and Tile, was serve the customer. We had a saying, give, give, give. And sometimes it's just like, get it done, figure it out later, in reference to change orders and things like that. There's some processes you have to follow, but don't slow the job down. Don't hold it hostage, right? Keep it moving, make sure that resident is handled, and ultimately the owner operator is going to high five us. And that's our job, is to be an extension of them, an extension of their brand, whatever that may be. And that's really, really important.
What's interesting you talked about, though, is that so you're already mindful of the KPI that they're all trying to drive for us, whether it be owner occupied or not. If it's owner occupied, it's about the average age of that open work order, right?
Yeah.
So how can I keep that average age down as possible? And if with your solution, it's 30% or 40% less, that's going to affect the metrics of the regional, the VP, the executive, the COO, and all the numbers they're trying to do, because everyone knows that if that average age of open work orders begins to creep out, so does your churn rate, right? If the number one source of churning is because of maintenance related or controllable item is maintenance related, right? And so you take a look at those elements, and there's alignment with your buyer, and it's selling a product. So I think it's interesting to kind of dig in on that a little bit, and then especially when you consider on the unoccupied side of things, it's about getting that unit available for rent so you can ring the cash register again. And so all of those things, it's very difficult to rent a unit, buildings, or an SFR unit that has a ripped out shower. That complicates things. Not to mention the additional complexity of having multiple trades. If you've got a plumber, if you've got a tile setter, you've got dry time, you've got polish time, all of that adds in complexity to a turn, right? And so eliminating the complexity, the problems that you're solving is eliminating the complexity, and then eliminating the time that it takes to make a unit ready, or minimize the downtime on that resident. So those are problems that are kind of
cost of if they go wrong, right? Like can be catastrophic,
right?
Because you can lose a rent.
So when you're out in the market talking about your product, and this can go back to your preferred days and where you are now, is like, do you frame your product in terms of those? Like, is it, hey, if you choose Palisades, your turn time's going to drop, your install time's going to drop by 2 days? Like, is that the framing and the value proposition? Like, do you compete on product at all, or is it on? Sorry.
So, well, I'll tell you. So it's funny that you say that, because the product, even in the flooring industry, very rarely did we get into specification of products. Right? It was like a glue down or a floating plank. 4.5 click or 2 millimeter glue. And nobody asked those questions. The questions that were mostly asked are like, what colors? It was glue or float. And then it was what color. Very rarely did we get into specification. If we had a spec question, then you knew what type of buyer that you had. There are certain buyers out there that really care. Like, there's buyers, right, that are going to buy a new piece of electronic and they're going to read the owner's manual. Then there's people who are like, going to rip open the box, grab all the wires, and then just start plugging them in and trying to figure out how it goes together. So you have two different types of buyers, and what their motivations are and what motivates them to buy can be different. A lot of times in SFR, we're dealing with experienced general contractors, we're field supervisors. So we don't have to get into specs because they learned that a decade ago when we started selling LVP to them. You don't almost down talk them if you talk spec, because they're like, why are you telling me about LVP? Right.
Yeah.
Like, this is in a water, right? You're in an environment where there's moisture and water. So we're getting a lot more questions when it comes to spec and water intrusion, which is so valid, because what's going to happen if you have a leak, right? So the cost savings on time comes from the actual install of the finished product. The construction of any shower system that we're going to put our product in is going to have the same waterproof membrane, just like tile, just like any other shower system. Our product is simply a second layer, is the finished product, but actually operates as a second moisture barrier, because it's 100% waterproof. So if you put up your normal waterproof membrane, which is backerboard waterproofing with a pan, right, without your weep holes being clogged, then you're going to just put our product up, and now you're actually reinforcing your waterproofing, and now you have 2 layers of waterproof. So
I think your point earlier is that's table stakes, and that might be put you an inch further on the goal line. But your point is that what you said earlier is that, you're saving days. It's the days. Are your customers? Better put. Are your customers choosing because of the second water membrane, or they're choosing because you save days?
Save days and cost. So the cost of this product compared to tile is about 1/3 of the price. And then if you compare it to fiberglass, it's about the same, if not more, depending on what fiberglass surround you were putting in. But you're going to lease it up faster because it looks nicer than your competitive product on the market now, prior to us taking over the world of showers, right? And
what's interesting about it, so, is that you take a look at like the objective of the buyer, right? To lease the unit or keep it leased, right? Or if it's not, lease it or keep it leased. Like, those objectives are like, there's an understanding that you've now taken that those are done by some key moments within that resident journey, or the lessor's journey, and that's the bathroom and kitchen. Okay, so focus on bathroom. There's space in there in the market. What's the other problem they're trying to solve for? They're trying to solve for speed to close, or least amount of disruptions if it's an occupied unit. In either of those cases, speed is the most important part. And so the product that you solve for is reinforcing the opening conversation around, it's about leasing units. Like, showers are like unless you're in the industry, you wouldn't think that the business of showers is about the business of leasing units.
Right. You're really, there's a shower surround.
Right. But that's the point, right? In this business, the product is built specifically to keep the units leased or to lease them faster. And that's the value proposition that as a buyer, I'm choosing to pursue, because all other alternatives may be price equal. They may be relatively feature equal, but ultimately one, I can get the job done in 1/3 of the time versus the alternative. I'm going to choose that all the time, because I also know I've got 10,000 units that every single incremental step can be an exponential problem. Like, if I'm going to wait for one tile setter to come in, and that one tile setter is the only tile setter that's available in that part of town, or the only vendor that's contracted through my MSA, and now I'm really vulnerable to that weakest link of the chain, the value chain, to be able to create that resolution. And so it's just kind of interesting to kind of like hear what you're saying, and for the audience listen to. Okay, it's all about eliminating the complexities in these complex like processes, and then how can you do that at a price that's equal or less, but it doesn't have to be half the price, because the core problem you're trying to solve is that unit being leased and the disruption of the resident.
Right.
And so competing on price, you might even be able to charge more, because you're saving that much time. That's always a fun test of product market fit, is if you can charge a little bit more than your competitors, because you know what you solve.
Correct. And if you think about, if I'm going to go and tour a home, and right now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm going to look for a certain home with all my filters, right? And it's going to show me these homes. I'm going to go in, I'm going to look online virtually. I'm going to narrow it down probably to 1, 2, or 3. And I'm definitely going to take a virtual tour. I'm looking for it, right? I'm probably not even going to go look at something that doesn't even offer a virtual tour, because my time is valuable, right? So there's even competitiveness around virtual tours. So anyone selling virtual tours, if there's someone without a virtual tour, there's people out there that won't even look at your home if you don't have a virtual tour, because I'm not local. I don't have time. Yeah. I'm going to, so there's another value proposition on a product that really has nothing to do with the product. It's servicing the end buyer or user. In this case, it checks the box for the resident. It checks the box for the owner operator. For the builder who's building the build to rent community, it's also shaving days off their production schedule. And skilled labor is one of the hardest things to find these days, especially in tile, even if you're in Florida, where they're installing, a tremendous more amount of tile. But the skilled labor market is a challenge, and everyone is trying to solve the skilled labor market. And this checks that box as well. This may change also where this product, when is the shower installed in the production schedule for a builder? Because, and who's doing the install. So I was a flooring vendor who was vetting this product, but why can't a sheetrock company also glue this product on the wall? It's 4 panels that gets glued. They're already installing the waterproof membrane, the backer board. They're already on site. Why remobilize a whole nother crew? Maybe it moves from which trade is doing the work. So I think the owner operators are looking for creativity and like rethinking the way we do work in this space to shave days and drive efficiencies within the production schedule.
Well, the example you just gave, they're also simplifying their vendor management side of things, right?
And you're simplifying how many trades.
Because a drywaller company is going to be a big vendor partner.
Correct.
in an SFR BTR world. And so the more you can consolidate your spend amongst your vendor partners, the better it is. The easier it's going to be to manage, to procure, to pay, to choose, to manage all those things, right?
Correct. How many people are sitting there keying invoices to get your vendors paid? Like, you can start squeezing, and that's my EVPIs where, where I can see some of those things. So to your point with that company who had everyone go through the business and learn how to read a P&L and understand how P&L operates, that's probably one of the things I didn't learn soon enough at Preferred. And we lost money over it for sure. And because my background was in sales and marketing, and my mentality was drive revenue. So, I had a product company for about from 2012 to 2002, and
one of the things that we learned in the product company was the lead time of cash, right? And so we had a cash lead time of almost 9 months, which was really painful on the business when it came down to accounts receivable and just cash management. So for us to grow, if we wanted to double, we needed 6x the cash on hand, because we had to manage the lead time on all our receivables and payables. And so like all those things made the product business really complicated, because I can't see a world where I ever go back to the product. I'm curious about it all the time, but I can't get into it because I still suffer the scars from having to manage the cash in addition to all the other kind of complications of a product company. But then again, it's interesting when you frame it in that you're selling a product. Like I'm selling like these two poker chips here. They're both relatively indifferent and don't really solve a unique problem. But the problem that you guys solve, it's like we had a hockey stick business. And we used to say, we don't sell hockey sticks. We sell goal celebrations. We sell slapping the glass. And if you watch hockey, that's what happens. Yeah. And so we sell like fist pumps. And so that was kind of our business. We said, we don't sell sticks. We sell fist pumps. And so how do you sell more fist pumps was kind of like how we approached the market and how we approached our positioning relative to the other products that are out there. And it turned out we were one of the fastest growing product companies or sporting goods companies in North America for a couple of years at least. And then things happen. But like, it was that understanding of the desire that you're seeking to solve, and then the alternatives that are available and why those don't meet those objectives of the buyer. And that's exciting to hear the connection that you're talking about between what would be, and here I'll get to the next step here. So we've established the problem that you solve. We've established that you do that through an easy to install unit. Now, what gets complicated is how do people find you? Like how do they, when they're looking to do the reno, like it sounds like there's a channel between GCs. How do they find your product and so they can buy from you?
Sure. Well, couple ways you can find our product is direct from us with the manufacturer. So you can reach out to myself via LinkedIn or.
But then at that point, they know to look for you. Like when they don't know who you are.
Like a Google search.
If they Google, what do they type into Google?
So fiberglass, I mean, most of the time right now, they don't know our product exists. Most people are probably familiar with companies that are using similar products or white labeled products, that bigger organizations like a Bath Fitters or something, they may be a little bit exposed to the product line, but don't realize that like, oh, there's a manufacturer here in the United States. They're not going to go in and search for it. So right now it is retailed in most of the big box retailers. So your traditional big box stores, you can walk in a store and they may see it on the shelf when they're looking for a fiberglass surround. If they're just Googling it right now, chances are we're going to bid on some competitive keywords or competitor words, names, fiberglass surrounds, and then we're, hopefully going to start to come up with some SEO behavior and pay-per-click. Most of our target right now is B2B. And so it's me reaching out to my existing network in the industry, leveraging the associations. We just joined NARPM as a member there. So we'll be at trade shows with our booth where people can touch and feel the product. And it's just old-fashioned grassroots getting the product out there for people to touch it, feel it. August 22nd, we're doing a demo installation in Sarasota. So we're inviting possible labor providers to come because we don't provide labor. We are the manufacturer. So the labor providers are going to come in. I've invited a handful of the ones I know in that area and other builders to come and take a look at the product and see it installed. Like seeing is believing. We're gonna shave days off returns. So
a book you might be interested in. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying a book you might be interested in reading. It's called They Ask and You Answer, and it's written by Marcus Sheridan. And his business was fiberglass pools. So he's out of North Carolina. I think he's out of North Carolina, actually. And interesting, he started
what was this?
Marcus Sheridan.
Okay.
And it's called They Ask and You Answer. And it's probably the best content strategy book I've read, because you would think that how can the content strategy drive revenue in the fiberglass pool business? But that's what it did. And the stories that he tells around are taking objections, taking questions, and turning questions into what your customers are seeking to solve, and then providing answers to that is real. And he's in the retail business, so B2C. But I think that you might find some parallels between what you guys sell and how they framed it.
100.
I think for me, it's a really interesting book to look at, because I find that as a seller, we often take objections or even questions like personally, as like maybe an implication that our product doesn't do what it needs to do, what it should do. But in reality, it's just your customers expressing their gaps in their mind before they make a decision. And so his strategy or his approach is that take those questions and write about them, and write about them, and then write about them again, and then write about them a fourth time, and then tell everybody that you're writing about them. Because despite the fact that it may be uninteresting to us because it's the 300th time we talked about it, it might be the first time that buyer is thinking about it. And they can go and double click on previous posts that you made. They can double click on all these different things and understand that you've got conviction around the problem you solve. You're not just kind of fly by night. And so why I think it's the most interesting, because it's not a conventional content business. It's not like how to be a better husband. It's like, which I probably should read, but it's like, it's about selling fiberglass pools, right? Which is
right.
like, which doesn't.
But also you might write an article on how to maintain a filter in a pool, because someone may be researching that prior to owning a pool. Like, what's this going to cost to own a pool? Maybe that's an article, right? That you would, because I'm showing buying signs. There's another book called The Long Tail Keyword.
Okay.
Where it's similar, where like, you know, there's certain search words that people will use. So I'm glad you got me thinking on this, because now I'm like, oh yeah, what are my long tail keywords? What would someone be looking? It may be that they're searching for skilled tile labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Because that's the way they articulate the problem.
Correct.
That's a great example.
Uh-huh.
And what these guys found is that let's say they produced 1,000 articles, and like 5 of the articles they produced drove 80% of the leads, and they weren't intuitive articles.
They were the same 5 objections.
The same 5 articles that they hadn't thought about, of 1,000 they wrote, drove 80% of the lead conversion. And then when they would go to a customer that had read the article, clicked the article, the customer's already in position to buy.
Yeah.
Because they'd already done the math. They already cleared the gaps that they need to hurdle with respect to making a choice.
And that's what we're doing right now, right? So I've been with Palisade going on like 60 days, and we even had to restructure how we were going to sell it, right? So we've been selling it through a retail big box store. So you can buy it online, deliver it to your house. You can walk in the store, buy it. This is different, because when our customers buy, you know, the last sale I made was 600 showers at one time. So for an entire community, 2 per home.
Well, and I'm willing to bet, because this is what we did with the stick company, is that the back page margins and terms on that 600 units are like 100 times better than what it was the big box. Like, so for example, I don't need to reveal your big box terms, but our big box terms were 14% off wholesale to start. It was 120 days net receivable of the first date of invoice. So it worked out to be 160, plus sometimes things got lost, it'd be 180. And in the meantime, they're reordering. So they'd be 100, call it 6 months. Remember, I mentioned we're already 9 months out on cash. So now we're 120 days, we're 14 months out on cash on products that sold, and they've already reordered. So their invoices their accounts receivable grows for this key big box store, right? This is what I'm saying about the product world, how it can be really, when you choose those channels, be aware of what you're getting into. Oh, and then on top of that, if they had any returns, we had to take those, no questions asked. And so the cost of that distribution channel versus your B2B channel can be staggering when you consider the cash implications and the overall margin implications.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the cost of selling onesies and twosies and selling 600.
Well, and then just freight, right? So onesie, twosies, freight looks way different than truckload.
Truckloads. Yeah, LTL, packages.
Right.
Yep. Less than, for everyone listening, that's less than truckload. Packages, pallets, like those are all headaches.
Freight over the last 30 days than I ever, in the flooring industry, our manufacturers already had kind of freight figured out, right? So like now we're like trying to cater this retail business over to the SFR industry, because that's my experience. So I had to sit with our team and say, no, this is how the flooring vendors are going to buy. This is how they're already conditioned to buy. If we ask them to buy any different, sure we can, but why wouldn't we just plug in to what already works? I'm not opposed to reinventing something if it's better and it shaves days off of turns, but I don't think it's gonna. I think this could actually add days. So I think if we can plug into how this industry is already buying, and let's structure our program to fit around that versus forcing our customer to fit around us. That was always a winning formula. I've heard is we gained market share because we were willing to do the things some of our competitors were not, because we built a business around SFR BTR where a lot of established big players in the flooring industry had big multifamily books of business, big builder business. Now they were trying to add this little bit of SFR work, and it's still a lot, right? You're talking about millions of dollars of work, but small compared to the multi-million dollars of work in builder and multifamily. So start to plug that in to an existing flooring company was harder than a little guy like us, little mom and pop, who could be flexible. I always say we're the speedboat, they're the Titanic, because so we have some flexibility and we can move around the water. For example, added value services. Where can you add more value in your product offering? If there's another problem, don't be like, oh, not our trade, not our problem. We were having a problem. We were dispatching our guys out to just scope the house, measure the house, and the lock boxes weren't changed. So this kept happening, and I'm paying, an estimator to drive out there, gas money in their car, gas money to go back, the time to follow up with the project manager, see if the lockbox has been changed, then go back out there to find out it really wasn't changed, or now the lock's broke or whatever. And I was like, why don't we just start doing lock changes for them?
Wow.
And just tack that on. Like, we're already there. Why did they, so during some of the peak time when they were really buying scattered lot, you had project managers driving all over after acquisition. They just acquired 50, 60 homes and they had to get lock boxes changed out within a few days. That could like us following up on a lockbox for 1 or 2 days, that added 2 days to the turn. We could have been there demoing, estimating, and been right back with install, depending on what else was happening in that home. So really thinking about the business when you were faced with problems, or, a manager that's like, oh, that's not my problem, or, something like that, stop for a minute and be like, could we take that on? Could we tap that onto our service and add more value and become sticky with our customers?
Well, and that's a great example of it. It feels like it's not your business.
Yeah, it feels frustrating because it's slowing you down from doing your business and the KPIs you're measured by.
Yeah, but it feels like it's not like lockbox swaps and flooring installations do not feel like the same business.
Right.
But the business is about making units ready, and the business is about or minimizing downtime to residents. So that feels like the same business, and the temptation or the kind of gotcha you got to figure out is what is the least amount of things that I need to do outside of my core business, so I don't get too overwhelmed with kind of like everything to everybody. And so I think it's interesting that you guys managed to figure out a service offering that unblocks your core business and unblocks a problem with your customer. And so that's like a match made in heaven if it's not too much money to do that kind of lockbox switch up, right?
And
so I think it's an interesting story.
They were, a lot of times it was either they would provide the lockbox because they already had them.
Mm-hmm.
So, once a week we go up, pick up 100 lock boxes, bring them back to the warehouse, dispatch them out with our estimators. And if they got there and the lockbox wasn't switched out, we changed ordered for, I don't know, $120. And I wasn't getting paid to go out to do an estimate anyway. Now I'm getting paid $120 to go do the estimate.
Exactly. And they're thrilled because something else happened. They might choose you more often.
And they're like, give it to preferred because they'll get it done faster because they're going to shave off of turns. That was our value proposition. Is like, we shave days was like a slogan that we were putting all over everything. And then we had another one. It was like, so fast their head spins. That was another good phrase that we used. Like, well, how quickly should we respond? So fast their head spins.
I love it.
Like already, a lot of times you play the text game, you go back and forth and ask the 40 questions. We'll just figure it out, right? Be a value provider, be a problem solver for your customer. Don't extend yourself too much. Ask questions and, don't
know how you're going to solve the problem, but be very clear on the problem that you solve.
Be very
clear on the
and make it a triple win, right? Like, it doesn't just win for you. It's winning for your client. It's winning for the resident, the owner operator, the resident, and yourself. If that's what I call the triple win.
Yeah.
And your employees.
And architecting those scenarios can be a lot of fun because the second you've got that, you feel like you've got something that's got a tailwind, right? It can move a whole lot. It's aerodynamic. It can move a whole lot faster.
I had a sales manager say, take the word no out of your vocabulary and just change it to not yet.
Yeah. Well, I would say not yet is more of a no than a no.
But, oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I think, like, and I'll explain, like, when someone says no, I just heard someone explain this a much better way than I could. When someone says no, they're actually actively engaging with you.
Oh.
And offering an objection. So they're actually bought in.
Yeah.
Into what you're offering, and they're saying, no, it doesn't fit for me. When someone says not yet or maybe or not now, you don't know if they're even paying attention.
Oh. What?
Because they're unwilling to engage with an objection. They're giving you a not now, which is like very, now it forces us to get creative in terms of how we understand why not now. And so like so it is an interesting perspective because like if someone says no, then they're engaged.
Yes.
And if they say not now, then they actually could be just dealing with something else. It's just not a priority.
So
trying to figure those things out can be a nuance. So when people look at how do you find people that are looking to buy, that are looking to,
oh God.
now they're seeking to solve the problem around turn times and reno times and resident disruption, but that can't be how you position it. How do you connect those dots, or how are you imagining about connecting those dots between the problem that you solve, how you solve it, and how they're looking for your product?
So I can't get on my phone or anywhere. I can't not look around this world and not see an opportunity for someone to use this product. And I approach it as it's our job to bring it to them, right? And introduce the product, whether it be at trade shows, email campaigns, social media, putting out content. We're working on some content right now, some fun content too, right? Not just some boring old posts, but we're working on some really creative content to put out across the web. Any builder, anyone with a shower or tub, it's kind of like flooring. Everywhere you go, there's one, right? So there's showers, tubs. Our product can also be used in a backsplash. It can be used in amenity centers, on big feature walls. So these shower systems, we have these kits that are shower systems, but then we have 4 foot wide by 10 foot panels that can look like a full slab of Carrara marble. So if you want a feature wall in a hotel lobby and you want it to look like big slabs of stone, our visuals are that stunning. You might have a stone guy come in and be like, "That's stone? No, that's not stone." Or you got to touch it. It's kind of like LVP is today. I was having dinner the other night with my fiance, and he was in the hardwood business for 20 years. And he literally reached down to the floor and touched it. And he's like, "That's LVP."
Yeah, I know.
I have sworn that was hardwood. And he's a hardwood guy. He did site finish, sand and finish for 20 plus years. So for him to lean, like he literally just like leaned down. And I was like, "Ew, go wash your hands or you're gonna eat dinner." But like, he was like, I was like, "No, really?" And then I had to lean down and like touch. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it is." I mean, it's the visuals on these products are real life. And
it's wild.
It's like, okay, right.
And the designs are able to do now. Like I was looking at an LVP install, and it was like massive chevron V's, like V's, and it was just beautiful. And my first glance was like, "Oh my God, the waist," because it wasn't even 45s. They were like 32s in terms of the angle of these V's. And so I just couldn't stop thinking of the waist on every single plank. And then I got up closer and I was like, realized, oh my God, this is LVP. That's wild.
So
good.
To your point, some LVP companies manufacture and box it like that to minimize the waste now. Because back in the day, you're right, you were upwards of 18 to 22 to 28% waste factor of material. So with this product, I just had a builder send me over the plans. We can manufacture to size. So if it's a backsplash and it's got like the little cutout, we can manufacture, and it's like, imagine a backsplash. Your backsplash guy comes in, he glues the adhesive on the back of this panel. It's just like pop on the wall. Be like, backsplash is done. I mean, that doesn't just shave days. That shaves like multiple days.
Oh yeah.
It's a 15-minute install once. It's a 15-20 minute install once your backer board is installed in your shower. And on a backsplash, as long as your plumber's got all your outlets right, it's like 10 minutes, right?
Well, so, to your point, and then that can be the finishing carpenter. That can be anybody. It doesn't need to be a tile setter. So it's not one more name on the project board.
Maybe have the electrician do it, and then he'll get really good at where he puts those outlets.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to minimize change orders. Think about the minimizing and change order when there's a mistake or something. Like, I think like that from a true operation cost perspective.
But it's hard to. But I guess, and we'll get to close here real quick here. But like, what's interesting about the things that you're talking about is those aren't the primary problem they're seeking to solve. Those are like implications that relate to the other choices that are out there.
Correct.
So it's like, okay, if I choose the tile setter, this is what this comes with. Here's the trade-offs. Like, that's actually something that's also heard the other day. It's like, there isn't yeses and nos. There's just options with different trade-offs. And so the trade-off that you're electing to choose, if you choose one approach, is that you're going to require another trade. You're going to require more complexity. You're choosing those with that trade-off. And so it's like, instead of doing a bake-off of like door number one, door number two, number three, it's like, here's a choice, here's a trade-offs, here's a choice, here's a trade-off. Because everything is a series of trade-offs. And that positioning can help you figure out what trade-offs are the priority for that buyer. And that helps kind of figure out what to sell.
And that's it. I mean, you really, every owner operator is different. What they want for their homes. There's little nuances of differences. There's a lot of likeness, but there's differences. And sometimes it just comes down to personal taste. And so it's important to get into the trenches on those things. Ask the questions. Do you want your shower to go above your shower head? Do you want to go to the ceiling? There's little details that, I enjoy the details, because long term, again, it's going to shave days. If you don't ask the questions up front, it's going to happen on site. And you don't want those questions happening on site, because again, that's just going to prolong things.
Well, and it helps you figure out your customer, right? Because if someone doesn't care about time, now you are competing on price.
Oh, right.
Which is where you don't want to be. And so I think that's one of the takeaways from the conversation I hope everyone hears, is that you figured out how your product is different than the other alternatives that are out there, because it's not just your competitors in terms of other, like, I'll say componentized shower systems. It's like, no, there's a whole series of alternatives that can be chosen to solve this problem that is a part of a bigger problem of leasing a unit faster. And you understand where your product differentiates in order to enable those particular that particular desired outcome with respect to the residents and the leasability. And so by having that, like, that's where the hell yes part starts to shape itself, is that you already understand that those are things they're seeking to solve. And then, I'd say the tough part is always explaining how, explaining that in a way that's easy to understand in like 10 words or less. But then, but as you get more practice, that starts to really what you're known for,
Yes.
That's exciting. So when we talk about, okay, we'll kind of one more quick question. And maybe you haven't known long enough to hear enough of these, but around objections, like what kind of objections do you guys get?
The objection, it's funny because it's like, okay, what aren't you telling me?
Yeah.
They're trying to poke holes in this product. I tried to poke holes in this product as I vetted it alongside the client. Remember, I was looking at it from the lens of, I'm going to go offer this to my customers. So I can't I have a reputation in the industry. At that time, the company I was working for, I had a very strong, has a very strong to this day reputation in the space. I don't take that lightly. My customers, when I do share stuff with them, they trust me. So I really had to vet it. So I vetted it as well. And so as I get the objections, like, okay, well, what's the downside? And I'm like, I haven't found one. Help me find it.
And that is like an extremely like vulnerable positioning, but it's now you're on the same side of the table. You're actually not, negotiating with each other. You're working together and solving the problem. And if they want to poke holes on it, it's you've done some pre-work, but they're going to work with you to identify the requirement that they have that you haven't been able to consider yet. Correct. It's beautiful.
And then it was like, why haven't we been doing? I kept saying to myself, why haven't we been doing? Why are we not already doing this? And it was like, there are some multifamily players that have been doing it. We've been doing, like I said, 80 million square feet of this stuff installed. We've got white labels. It's a tried and true product. It just hasn't been brought to our space. SFR, BTR, everyone keeps saying, if you listen to any of the top CEOs in the market, we're in the infancy stages of this industry. We really are. Yeah. And so I believe that's why we're not using it yet. We're very excited about it, but there's a lot of this product installed, so don't let that hold you back. But SFR, BTR, let's go.
Well, because you're solving the problem, right? Hell yeah. Love it. So let's go back into your career, or maybe people that are just joining, or people that you're hiring, or maybe people that are just meeting you at Palisade. Like, what's a bit of advice you'd give them as they're heading into their career and seeking to find hell yes customers?
Don't get in your own head. Right. Like there's always the negative, like, oh, it's not going to work. I can't be first. You can be first. And it actually pays to be first sometimes, but don't give up, follow up, and don't give up. Just keep following up. Keep trying, fall down, stand back up, fall down, stand back up. That's what it takes to get to hell yeah. It really does. And
learn to why you got knocked down.
Yeah, why you got knocked down. Be like, oh, why did I fall down? Yeah, question why you seek some good mentors and surround yourself by people who will give you honest advice and honest feedback. That's the hardest thing I think we can get is getting really honest feedback. Salespeople, we're used to it because our sales managers are pretty direct. Normally in my past, I've always had sales managers that are very honest with me, and it came down to your numbers. You were either performing or you weren't. But in this industry, it's really important to develop relationships, seek feedback, and encourage people to be honest with you with feedback. It's the most valuable thing you can get in this world.
I would agree. It's also why I like no's versus not no's.
Yeah.
I feel like no, I feel like a no is feedback, but a not now is like, you're not even worth giving you a reason. Cool. Okay. So you teased me earlier. Who should we talk to next?
So I'm going to throw this out there, but I think the Miss Kelly Brooks, CEO of Property Masters, would be a phenomenal tee up for you.
You got to help me get a hold of her. I've linked in with her a couple times, and oh yeah, she's a dynamite.
She is dynamite. She, I'm not going to steal any of her thunder, and I couldn't if I tried. She's amazing, but she's on the hell yeah train. So,
hell yeah. Okay, so I'm going to lean on you for an intro there. I'll flip you an email that you can flip to her because she's been hard to connect with through LinkedIn, and yeah, she would be a lot of fun. I mean,
yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, we have to have a cocktail for that one.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Absolutely.
Total bad A. I don't know if I can cuss on here, but total bad.
You sure can. Yeah. She's. It's called Hell Yes for hell.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. I had a chance to meet her at Nashville and then met her again in Orlando. And I think we sat with her daughter for drinks.
Oh yes.
Was it you and I and her daughter?
No, I was in Nashville, maybe.
In Orlando. In
Orlando, she did have her younger daughter with her. She wasn't, but she was younger. But and then I think they went down south after the show. But yes, her teenage daughter was there. Kelly's amazing. She started that company, was in the field. I mean, she's done every role.
Oh, she's a badger. Like she's like, I love that. Love that idea. I'll reach out to her and I will get your help with that one. And getting a hold of you.
There's a great handful of women I can connect you with. So
I look forward to it.
Get some dynamites on here, and I appreciate you. I think together we're better, right? That's Greg Frank saying. The more conversations we have, the more we continue to share best practices, failures, successes. It's going to help us all get to that hell yeah.
100%. And it's a great community. I think that's the thing that I've been so like, just, it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's like a golden goose. Like the community is so the collaborative that there's just, it's difficult to not have a 1 + 1 = 3 conversation.
It is.
Awesome. Okay. For everyone listening today, if you're listening on the podcast, the heart, exactly. If you're listening on this LinkedIn Live after today, feel free to post some comments. Both Yovonne and I will both get notified. We can answer and jump in on any of that. And if you're listening on the podcast, just hit subscribe on either Spotify or Apple. That makes it easier to find. And again, as I said, open the show with, it's brought to you by IRCX. We're AI remote maintenance software for property management, helping you save time on trips, triage, and turns. And this has been a really special conversation. Thanks, Yovonne. I love meeting you in Nashville. And then we talked about NRHC was how we first connected. Is that correct?
Correct. I connected you with Teresa. I'm a big advocate for the NRHC. They're an amazing organization. So
yeah, I find both them and NARPM have both been very, very valuable to us. So I like to support both organizations. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Have an excellent rest of your day. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll chat later.